Before our webcast, a quick reminder for our listeners. During today's call, management may make forward-looking statements, which by their nature involve known and unknown risks, uncertainties, and other important factors beyond the company's control that could cause the company's actual results, performance, or achievements to be materially different from that expected result, performance, or achievements expressed or implied by such forward-looking statements. These statements are subject to risks and uncertainties that could cause actual results to differ materially from those contained in the forward-looking statements. Actual results and the timing of certain events may differ materially from the results or timings predicted or implied by such forward-looking statements. Reported results should not be considered as an indication of future performance. Please note that these forward-looking statements made during this call speak only as of today's date, and the company undertakes no obligation to update them to reflect subsequent events or circumstances, other to the extent required by law. This call is being webcast and will also be made available through the company's website. With the formalities out of the way, over to management.
Thank you, Greta, and good afternoon, and welcome to Alligator's Q4 and full year earnings call. I'm Søren Breinholt, I'm the CEO of Alligator Bioscience, and with me I have Marie Svensson, our Chief Financial Officer. Slide 3, please. Let's get straight into the highlights of 2022, and I want to begin with the outstanding phase 2 interim data that we provided from OPTIMIZE-1, evaluating our lead candidate mitazalimab in combination with FOLFIRINOX in first-line pancreatic cancer. These results that we put out on January 2 demonstrated an objective response rate of 52% in this hard-to-treat cancer, which exceeded even our internal expectations. These data are a good omen for the continued development of mitazalimab in pancreatic cancer, and indeed the data that we are going to put out mid-year 2023, where we plan to put out additional objective response data and also progression-free survival data from a part of the study cohort. We believe that these data will provide the best opportunity and best background to initiate dialogue with regulators on how to best and fastest develop mitazalimab within pancreatic cancer, and also start discussing the best approval pathway for the molecule. We also saw a faster than expected recruitment in the trial during the year, which means that we will now be able to provide full top-line data from the trial Q1 2024, which is a full 9 months earlier than originally announced to the market. So it's really been a great year for OPTIMIZE-1, our lead clinical trial in first-line metastatic pancreatic cancer, and we'll be going into more detail on that trial and the implications in just a moment. Briefly on our other achievements for the year include the expansion of our 2021 research agreement and license agreement with Orion, the successful conclusion of our 1017 phase 1 trial, which laid the foundation for the further clinical development of that molecule, something we anticipate to do with a partner. And we are also expecting the imminent start of the clinical development of 527 in the US, a molecule that we are developing jointly with Aptevo Therapeutics. During the year, we also strengthened Alligator senior leadership with the appointment of Sumit Abakane as our new Chief Medical Officer, and we welcome 2 new board members to Alligator, Staffan Enckrantz and Denise Good. We also identified our contribution to the scientific community with our participation in several scientific congresses and the publication of high-quality scientific papers in peer-reviewed journals. And we are continuing to deliver great value to our stakeholders, and we are meeting and sometimes even exceeding our promises in terms of our progression in the clinic and in building our company. and we remain well positioned for future value creation and growth. Now, let's take slide number 4. We are building a diversified best-in-class pipeline of second-generation agonistic antibodies, providing new options for patients with hard-to-treat cancers using our cutting-edge technologies, with quite a number of value drivers. Our antibodies address key needs in immune activation pathways and are designed with key features that make them complementary to existing cancer therapies. And we believe that this gives our antibody a unique position as part of tomorrow's combination therapies, helping patients with harder to treat cancer. Looking ahead into 2023, we are preparing to initiate OPTIMIZE-2, which will be evaluating mitazalimab in a yet undisclosed indication. We're using the learnings from OPTIMIZE-1 to de-risk this second trial and to enhance its design. We will also initiate IND-enabling activities with our neo-X-prime bispecific CD40 agonist 4066, for which we see medical opportunities across multiple cancers. I also want to mention here the long-standing research collaboration and licensing agreement we are building with Orion, Macrogenics, Abclone, and Helmius. During the last quarter of 2022, Helmius received IND approval for a phase 2 clinical trial for AC101 that I mentioned in our January 2nd announcement, our research collaboration with Orion. These partnerships provide external validation of our technology platforms and de-risk development of our product candidates through the sharing of knowledge and resources. They can also provide significant revenue streams for Alligator in the form of milestone payments, royalties, in the event of further development and commercialization of these assets. Now, on slide 5, let's take a closer look at the OPTIMIZE-1 trial, in which we are further assessing the efficacy and safety of our lead asset, mitazalimab, in combination with standard of care chemotherapy, FOLFIRINOX. And this is for the treatment of first-line metastatic pancreatic cancer. OPTIMIZE-1 is a phase 2 single-arm, open-label, multicenter study performed at clinical sites in Belgium, Spain, and France, with the aim to include up to 67 patients. As I already mentioned, 2022 was a very successful year for mitazalimab, with OPTIMIZE-1 phase 1b part being completed. This gave us our first safety readout, showed that mitazalimab at doses of 900 micrograms per kilogram in combination with FOLFIRINOX is safe and well tolerated. The dose was chosen for phase 2, and we then passed on the interim efficacy analysis with impressive 52% response rate. We have maintained a strong recruitment pace in the trial, and we're recruiting the last patients now, and we expect the enrollment to be concluded during April this year. The top line data now due in Q1 2024, which I mentioned is a full 9 months earlier than originally anticipated. Before that, though, we are expecting additional interim data in the middle of 2023. And in particular, we are looking to further characterize progression-free survival as the study continues. If I can have slide 6, please. We have thought for some time that the mitazalimab could change the treatment paradigm for pancreatic cancer patients, and those latest interim efficacy data have given us more reason to think so. Looking at the ORR chart on the left, you can see that the orange 52% response rate we achieved with mitazalimab in combination with FOLFIRINOX. To give that number some context, you see that the current standard of care, which is gemcitabine with paclitaxel or standalone FOLFIRINOX, demonstrated ORRs of around 23 and 32% respectively in similar patient populations. So that comparison showed that mitazalimab combined with chemotherapy could offer significant clinical benefit for pancreatic cancer patients over current treatment options. The next data set due in the middle of 2023 will further elaborate on progression-free survival and objective response rate in these patients. One point I would like to stress is how consistent ORR, progression-free survival, and also overall survival seems across trials in the pancreatic cancer indications, and also seeing strong correlation between ORR and PFS. And with our 52% shown in the interim analysis, we are hopeful that the PFS that will be disclosed mid-23 will be highly differentiating when compared to standard of care alone. And with these words, I will leave it over to Marie, our CFO, to take us through the financials. So next slide, please.
Thanks, Søren. I will begin with a review of our fourth quarter 2022 financial results. Net sales for the fourth quarter amounted to 20.1 million SEK, up from 5.2 in the prior year. This is a result of the ongoing research and license agreement with Orion and the expansion of that agreement, as Søren mentioned earlier. Operating result for the quarter ended at minus 52.9 million SEK, an increase from 36.9 million SEK in the prior year. And this is mainly due to the increased activity in the clinical trials with mitazalimab 8-1017, as well as preparation for the phase 1 study in the US with 527. Cash flow for the quarter amounted to 49.8 million SEK compared to 198.8 million SEK in the prior year. For the full year period, January to December 22, net sales amounted to 35.7 million SEK, up from 12.9 million SEK in 21. The increase is due to the revenue from the research and license agreement mentioned earlier. Operating result for the year ended at minus 192.8 million compared to minus 141.6 million in previous year. Operating expenses during 12 months period consisted mainly of costs related to ongoing clinical studies and personnel costs. Cash flow for the year amounted to negative 180.9 million SEK compared to 174 million SEK for 21. In the figure down to the left, you can see how expenses are distributed between our projects in Q4, and total 89% of our operating cost is invested in driving our R&D projects forward. Next slide. Alligator's operating cost on rolling 12 months basis have increased due to our expanding clinical trial activity and the increased number of patients being enrolled into the study. At the end of December 2022, Alligator's cash at hand amounted to 97.3 million SEK. In order to support the continued development of our key assets, the company is continuously working on opportunities for partnership, out-licensing deals, and equity financing. And with that, I will turn back to you.
Thank you, Marie. So we are now looking forward to a particular solid news flow over the next 12 months from Alligator's pipeline of best-in-class opportunities for patients with hard-to-treat cancers. We expect to start the phase 1 trial of 527, which is co-developed with Optivo, during the first quarter. Mid-year, we expect to update you, as I've already said, on more interim data from the Optimize-1 trial. And also during mid-next year, mid-2023, we expect to have an IND clearance for the Optimize-2 study with the FDA. And then in the second half of the year, we will engage with the regulatory authorities to discuss the possibility of an accelerated development and approval path for mitazalimab in pancreatic cancer. And then in Q1 2024, we expect to deliver top-line data from the Optimize-1 trial. We at Alligator remain deeply committed to delivering on our ambition to develop meaningful therapies for patients with hard-to-treat cancers through a continued focus on our key clinical programs. The Alligator team is dedicated and capable of providing true benefits for patients, thereby creating true value for the company's shareholders. And I continue to look forward to keeping you updated on our development on this exciting journey. So on behalf of myself, Alligator's management, the board of directors, I would like to take this opportunity to extend our sincere thanks to all of you, to our staffs on their achievement, and I also want to thank you, valued shareholders, for your continued confidence in the company. And with that, we will move on to the Q&A session. So we've had a number of questions coming in through the chat, and the way that we will do this is that I will read out the questions, and for some of them provide the answers. Maybe you will answer some of them.
Yeah.
But the first question here, there's quite a number of questions on Optimize-1. The first question here is from Richard Remanius at Redeye, and Richard asked us to tell more about how Optimize-1 can be expanded into a trial that could lead to an accelerated approval. How large would it be, and what would be the endpoints? So that's a very interesting question and something that we are working diligently on at Alligator. We believe that progression-free survival and median overall survival are expected to be the endpoints that such a trial should end for, but it's too early to elaborate on how that trial or how Optimize-1 could be expanded to support a potential accelerated approval. That's exactly the key matter of the discussions we will have with the FDA and also the European regulators during the second half of 2023. On the same line, to ensure that Alligator, or likely our partner, have the best options to advance into pivotal development as soon as possible, we are initiating activities to prepare NITA for that pivotal development. That's an important point to make. Then a question here from our analyst at Kempen. Will you be able to provide a 1-year progression-free overall survival rate during the updated mid-23? How many patients do you anticipate will have enough follow-up to report PFS on that time? Yeah, so the first patients on 900 micrograms per kilogram were enrolled in Optimize-1 early 2022. So yes, there will be a 12-month follow-up data in that mid-2023 interim data. And we estimate to be able to provide meaningful follow-up data, including PFS, from approximately 30 patients at that mid-year point. And a follow-up question on PFS is, what is the PFS bar that you are looking for that would provide your confidence that you can go for pivotal development? Also a very important question. Based on the approximate 6.5 month PFS reported for FOLFIRINOX standalone, we expect to be able to provide 3 months on top of that to approximately 9.5 months. We would be happy to see such an outcome from Optimize-1. Then we have another question on Optimize-1. How is recruitment going? And as we previously announced, we managed to recruit faster than initially guided. And we have just announced that our readout now will be Q1 2024 rather than the end of that year. And I'm happy to convey that the treating physicians in the trial are happily, or diligently at least, enrolling patients into the study. And we very much appreciate that, which allows us to be on track for that Q1 readout. And we have another question here that had probably been covered already. What interim data will you present mid-2023? And as I said, that readout will include an objective response rate from quite a number of the patients, and then meaningful progression-free survival and durability of response data from approximately 30 patients. Then let's shift. We have a question here also from Richard at Redeye. When will the phase 1 trial in 527 start, and do you intend to do the phase 1 together with Aptivo, or are you looking for a partner to finance the trial? Dosing of the first patient is imminent, and we, as I just said, expect to do that during Q1. We look forward to update the market on that. And without taking your thunder, Marie, the trial is fully loaded in Alligator's budget in 23 and 24. As we previously communicated, and you just mentioned in your part here, we are looking for a partner to help us with that trial, but we are ready and capable of completing the trial as planned.
Yeah.
Good. Then another question again about the 4-1BB pipeline. When could you find a partner for 1017? And would you prefer to out-license both 1017 and 527 to the same partner? And we are in dialogue with several interested partners, both on 1017 and 527. As I previously said, it's always difficult to guide on timing of these deals. So, but we're working hard on it, and we'll update when data is available. And whether we want to out-license 1017 and 527 to the same partner, that's not really a priority for Alligator, and not really a concern. We will do the deals that makes the most sense when they become available. Now, Marie, there is a question for you here.
Mm-hmm.
What is your budget for 23, and will your operating expenses be similar to those of 2022?
Mm-hmm. Yes, the operating expense for 2023 will largely be similar to 2022. Optimize 1 is recruiting according to plan, and the patients are staying in the study, which is a good thing. Based on the strong interim data, we're also allocating resources to prepare Meta for phase 3 to ensure fastest possible development of the molecule.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And then could you say anything about there's a couple of questions about financing here. One is, could you say anything about what financial options are available to raise more cash? And we have previously discussed this at this call and others, and I think it's evident from the Q4 report that we are planning to refinance Alligator during the first half of 2023. And we have strong cornerstone investors that have expressed their belief in the company and are strongly interested in continuing to support the company. So we believe that refinancing the company will definitely be a strong possibility. And then there is another question here: when will the decision be made concerning a new emission, and will the emission be open to all share owners? We will not guide you here on when exactly, other than what I just said. And we are definitely working on a solution that will allow loyal shareholders to participate one way or another.
Exactly.
Good. Then we have back to Optimize 1 and mitazalimab, a question from Joseph Hedden. Can you say anything on the pipeline in first-line pancreatic cancer beyond mitazalimab? Definitely. I think one of the good things that has actually happened over the last couple of months is that a new chemotherapy has been not approved, but shown positive phase 3 data in pancreatic cancer, increasing the response rate somewhat, and showing also good effects on survival. That's generally really a positive. It's been a long time since we have new approvals in the space. We see this as not really disturbing our development path in mitazalimab. We believe that mitazalimab will provide a added benefit to any chemotherapy, and also in a potential new first-line regime like this. Other Companies like AbbVie, Cell Genetics are developing CD40 antibodies in first-line pancreatic cancer, either in combination with FOLFIRINOX or with gemcitabine paclitaxel. Data are out there. We see response rates that are a little bit around what we see with mitazalimab. It's difficult to compare these data directly as the trial populations are not exactly overlapping. Our perspective is that it's really good to have competition. It's great if our competitors show good data in the indication that will also keep validating mitazalimab. Then we have another question here. Yes, again, that's also Joseph from RX Securities on mitazalimab or our competitors in pancreatic cancer. So Apexigen, the question is like this: Apexigen failed in this indication with a chemo PD-1 CD40 combo after showing early positive data. What is it about mita that you think will lead to a different result? And that's a good question. So let's take the first part of this question about the CD40 PD-1. The trial was actually so that Apexigen tested both chemo PD-1, chemo CD40, and then chemo PD-1 CD40, and they did so in patients treated with gemcitabine paclitaxel. The trial showed actually that the triple combo were worse than the CD40 and the chemo alone. So that's or the chemo and PD-1 alone. So there's still sort of some uncertainty in the community on the role of PD-1, which from a scientific point of view makes a lot of sense, as the T cell infiltration early on in these pancreatic cancer tumors are relatively scarce. Hence, not a lot of immune activating going on, and no real role for PD-1 today. So what is it about mita that we think will lead to a different results? A number of things. What we were able to confirm in also the data that we published here in January is that mitazalimab has a very manageable safety profile, meaning that we don't have some of the side effects that is seen with other CD40s. That allows us to do three very important things. First of all, it let us combine with FOLFIRINOX, and FOLFIRINOX is the toughest of the chemotherapies, but also the most efficacious. This means that the patients that are getting FOLFIRINOX are the patients that are in the best physical fitness. Remember, they all have grade 4 pancreatic cancer, so metastasis 75-80% in the liver. So these patients are definitely not physically very strong, but the strongest of them are given FOLFIRINOX. These patients are also the ones you have to assume that have the best immune status, so most able to respond to an immune activator like mitazalimab. So you have that aspect. Then we are able to dose at higher doses to ensure that we get more antibody into the tumor, and we're also able to do dose at a higher frequency than our competitors. And all those three things being combined, so combining with FOLFIRINOX with the highest efficacy sort of baseline and the most immune competent patients, giving a higher dose more frequently, we believe gives us a competitive edge over the other CD40 antibodies. Do we have more questions for now? That doesn't seem to be the question. I want to thank you, Marie.
Thank you.
I want to thank you listening into this Q4 full year report call from Alligator Bioscience. Thank you and have a nice day.